Okay, hi Janine, how are you?
I'm very well, thank
you.
Good.
Look, we're here today looking at the public school funding review.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is asking our people, our fellas out there, why do you think it's important that we are giving more money to help our schools out? Why do you think it's important, and what do you think we can do with that money if we were given more money?
Well, it's important because all our kids need a high education to be able to support themselves and to further our own country.
That's right.
But to do that, we need smaller classes, which includes more teachers, and we need more Indigenous teachers to break the barrier gap between the kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
What about, do you think of any programs that we could do or use that money for or help us with?
Programs?
That you might have seen or thought of that?
More programs, sort of like more self-care programs, that sort of thing, I think would be astronomical for a lot of the kids. They need to learn to be able to look after themselves instead of depending on somebody. They really need to be able to cook for themselves.
That's right. So some more sustainability. Yeah. Hi Melissa, how are you?
Good, thanks.
That's good. So as I mentioned to you before, we're here for the public school funding review.
Yes.
And we're asking our fellas what we should do to encourage. So why do you think it's important we have more funding for public schools?
Probably because not a lot of people, like Indigenous people, have high needs of like lots of money, so we can't afford to send them to the bigger schools. And then like they're more, if they go to bigger schools, well, then they're going further away from their family. But if they're in public schools, they're closer to home, which is their comfort zone.
And that's right.
Being Indigenous, we love being around our people.
No, that's right.
And just because we don't have lots of money doesn't mean we deserve not to have a better education or equal education.
That's right. So what do you think? If we were given this extra money, what do you think we could use that on?
Numerous things, like I think homework centres would be beneficial to keep our kids up there with everyone else, and it might bridge the gap between the Year 12 leavers, Year 10 leavers. If there's enthusiasm, incentive there, they'll stay there. That means that we'll get more Indigenous kids up there through the system as well. So.
Yeah. What about Aboriginal employment schools? Do you think that's important?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So what about, do you think it's important to have like Aboriginal teachers, Aboriginal staff, and what about curriculum? Do you think it's in mandate? Do you think it'd help if we had more funding to get, whether it be training, cultural training for teachers, or
even where I come from, next time we're going to do a language course where the kids of Year 7 are going to have a go at learning our language, local language down that way. So and that in itself is build self-esteem and self-confidence because they're learning something that they love and they live around. So
and to do that, it's obvious that we need that funding, don't we, to support those programs. And I think that's okay. Hi, Michaela, how are you? That's good. So as we're talking to you about the public school funding review, if we were given extra money in our public schools, what do you think we should do with that or could do with that?
Okay, so if we had more money, I think that we should start at the start and provide it to primary school education. Kids that lag behind in classes of 30 obviously don't get the chance to catch up when they're starting off slow. It's obviously very slow development, and then once they get to high school, they're behind the ball game, and it's those kids that are more likely to drop out. And then that just leads on to further problems in society. So obviously having smaller class sizes, having more teachers, having better support for the students, such things as having more computers, teaching them how to use computers obviously at that age as they would start. And then once they get to high school, they're at the same level, everyone's at the same level and they have the same opportunities to go to university and pursue their dreams, which is obviously important. And then in high school there's things like more computers are obviously necessary. That's in rural communities, not everyone has access to a computer at home, so that delays the progress. And such things as books, they're expensive, textbooks are really expensive for students. If they're studying, it's hard for them to get a part-time job as well, so obviously there's more funding needed through AB study and youth allowance. So that's obviously something that's really important. I was in a public school in high school and I was studying really hard, and it was hard for me to work part-time to save money to go to university and worry about all of those commitments.
Yamandoi Ningandu, Gamaroi Wallaboga Nini, Nini Wingali Alambu Marwa, Nini Wingali Yirigan, Duli Gallagher, Hilo Illadu, Damalale, Gabanini. What I just said there is welcome everyone, we're in Camilla land and we think of our ancestors. May your thoughts be as clear as mountain spring water, bringing together the past, the present and the future. Thank you.
So you want to tell us a bit about yourself, Hank, or where you're from? And
I'm an elder from Coonabarabran. I was reared in the Burrawadi mission in Coonabarabran, and I'm one of the elders there. And there's quite a few of us, not many left now.
Yeah. So you probably have a lot of fellas. Tell us what was your full name?
Brian Dale.
Yep. Okay, nice. So we were talking here before about public school funding and why it's important for our fellas and our kids in schools to get more public school funding. What do you think? Do you think if we were given this funding, what do you think we could spend it on, or what do you think best purpose for this funding would be?
Well, for a start, I'm a firm believer. I'm only just learning my language, and which we were deprived of for a lot of years. But what I'd like to see the schools do is get more language in the school and teach the younger ones and pass it on, because they're the kids of the future, and they're the ones who'll be really talking for us later on in the future.
That's right. And as our slogan says, it's a promise to the future, isn't it? So our kids are the future, aren't they? And our Koori kids, we need to get them to be sense of pride and that identity, don't they? And getting language back in schools. And it's something all our kids, not just Aboriginal kids, but non-Aboriginal kids can be proud of, that this is their language too, and it's something that they can sort of go, oh, well, that'd be nice to learn in schools too, eh?
Yeah, this is right, my boy, and I'd like to see all Aboriginal kids get a real good education. Education is the thing of the future. There's too many of our young Aboriginal kids, or not Aboriginal kids, but not many of them have got work, and they've got to have a good education to further themselves in life.
Good. Is there anything else you'd like to that, Mark, or what?
It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'd like.
So do you think it's important that public schools are given more funding by the federal government, and why do you think it's important?
It is very important. Public schooling, we need more in-class tutors, liaison officers, more mentoring programs. The transition program from preschool to kindergarten, from primary school to high school, I think it's very important for kids to feel more comfortable, and just build on those life skills that are going to help them after school.
In later life, absolutely.
Yeah, so, just better results in the HSC, more kids staying on to finish their HSC. I mean, they really need that support.
I think you've touched on those. Do you think, so those programs that help those kids go through, do you think they're important? Those programs that help them, like you were saying, with life skills and stuff.
Yep.
Do you think they're quite important for Aboriginal students?
I think they are. I think Aboriginal students need that extra support. Just so they know that someone's there for them. If they're having a hard time, there is somebody to go to. That they're not on their own. That there is support there.
There's support for them. And obviously vital to that and key to that is funding, isn't it?
It is.
I
was an in-class tutor for a couple of years, and it was all dependent on funding. I didn't know, we never knew whether it was going to continue. You'd work for one term, but you wouldn't know whether it was going to be the whole year or whether the year after was going to continue. So, and that was hard on the staff and the students.
That's
because
right.
You build rapport with students over a year or two, and then if it's cancelled, then you've got to start all over.
Yes, public education, quality schools, quality teachers, more funding from the federal government, bipartisan agreement about public schools, fund our fellas, fund our kids,